coming live from Sluggers in Wrigleyville with Adam Feather, the Wolf of Wall Street.
The Wolf of Wrigley. It's okay.
Wolf of Wall Street.
A lot of people say that.
Just leave that on there. Let's just leave that on there.
You know, it's funny. A lot of people actually say that. A lot of people actually say that, and I want them to because I want them to have that connection with the movie.
Yeah, see, it's automatic without even thinking about it, right?
Absolutely. Thank you guys very much for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for doing this in such short notice, man.
Oh, not a problem.
No, you actually reached out to Matt that you wanted to be on the podcast. So
yeah,
it's kind of nice to have you on.
You guys are doing great work, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, man, thanks.
But for those people who are not familiar with who you are, if you could tell us a little bit of who you are and what you do, essentially.
Absolutely. So a couple of years ago, I started an apparel line in Wrigleyville. It's called the Wolf of Wrigley. It's a men's and women's apparel line. Right now, we have T-shirts, tank tops, and hats in both blue and pink. We actually have the apparel in Spanish as well. I thought that was very important. One, because being in Chicago, there's a very large Hispanic population. I actually speak Spanish myself. And I wanted to also cater, because this is a baseball neighborhood, there's more than half of Major League Baseball players speak Spanish. So I felt that was very important to target to them as well. I wanted to definitely focus on that community. So I started the apparel line, and last year I started an event planning business specifically based in Wrigleyville, where I work with all of the bars and restaurants throughout Wrigleyville. I felt there was a really big opportunity, especially with all the development that's going on in Wrigleyville, with Tom Ricketts that he's doing with the movie theater, the bowling alley.
The craziest part is that they started doing all of this before they won the World Series.
Absolutely, and that's
the crazy part.
It is, and that's why I started this in the first place. It was actually really cool. There was an element of luck that was involved in this. I started the apparel line in hopes of the Cubs winning the World Series. I knew there was a good chance, but nothing's ever guaranteed, and I took a big risk. I took a very big risk. It was very nerve-wracking, especially in Game 7. When it came down to the very end of the game, I was sweating bullets, keeping my fingers crossed, knocking on wood, hoping that the Cubs would win the World Series, and luckily they did.
The funny part is that we were watching that game at our friend's house down the street, right in front of Sheffield's.
Yeah.
And I think it was at the bottom of the 7th or the top of the 7th, we left this place and came down, and we were actually standing right here, right in front of the marquee.
That's awesome.
Nobody knew what was going on because there were so many people out on the streets that nobody had cell phone service. So I remember. When the storm break happened and all that happened, nobody fucking knew what was going on. We were all trying to refresh our phones, trying to figure out what's going on. Then the screen went blank.
Right.
We were watching the game, and it was they were winning. So we're oh well, I don't want to be stuck in here when they win. Let's get out on the streets.
Yeah.
Right. So we came out on the street with I don't know, we had 12 to 15 people. Everybody got separated immediately.
Yeah.
And then we get down there and we're okay, well, we're just, all it says is the score, right? And the top of the bottom of the inning. And then all of a sudden the score is tied, crap, what did we miss? We had no idea. And there were just tons and tons of people flooded on the streets.
It was crazy.
We go to extras and you just had to wait until something happened, and then the score changes, and then the entire street erupted. It was nuts.
It's incredible, and I'm actually glad that you guys were able to experience that as well, because it's something that very few people actually got to experience, but it's also something that we'll all remember for the rest of our lives. I mean, it was just a dream come true. It was a fairy tale, a happy ending. It was incredible. I was actually in Sluggers when it happened.
Nice.
And then I actually went up on the roof.
Were you one of the people jumping off into the crowd?
No,
there was plenty of those.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I always have my camera on me, so I have plenty of pictures of dudes literally just
doing the truss fall,
standing on just climbing a light pole or one of the street poles, and dude, just not even just backwards, just falling back, and I'm holy shit,
unbelievable. It was a phenomenal thing that happened. After 108 years in the making, it was incredible. I couldn't have asked for a better turnout, especially with the planning of when I had started the Wolf of Wrigley. So that's really why I started the business, is in hopes of the Cubs winning the World Series, because Wrigleyville has always been one of the top 10 tourist destinations throughout the world.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But now that they've won, Wrigleyville is now synonymous with winning. It's a winning neighborhood, and I wanted to create a company, start a brand that is now a winning brand.
Smart.
which is really cool. Yeah, and I was somewhat lucky. You know, I was very lucky in the fact that they won. But the apparel line is great. It's great for advertising, great for marketing, a great way to get my name out there. And you know, when I had started, I was also very fortunate to get a lot of support from the community, the local community, because I've lived in this neighborhood for about 10 years, Wrigleyville and East Lakeview. You know, and I actually formerly worked in the financial industry for 10 years as well.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, what did you do? What did you do before starting this?
Absolutely. So I graduated from Indiana University. I happened to graduate with the owners of Sluggers, actually. They're very, very good family friends of mine. They have one of the best bars in Wrigleyville. It's been around for 34 years. It's a staple in Wrigleyville. They've filmed previous movies here, Hardball and Sense8 on Netflix, which is really cool. Everyone knows Sluggers, you know, and I'm very fortunate to have their support and to have, you know, such good friends that have helped me get this started. So to answer your question, I formerly worked in the financial industry. After graduating from Indiana, I was a financial advisor with Ameriprise Financial, and I also worked as an investment consultant with TD Ameritrade. So I was doing comprehensive financial planning. I've always been in sales. I love sales. You know, it's always been a passion of mine. And I've lived in this neighborhood for so long. So when the Wolf of Wall Street movie came out, I loved it. I thought it was empowering in the sense that the guy, not for all the negative things that he did, you know, yes, he broke the law. Yes, he did a lot of drugs. He had promiscuous sex, you know, and all that stuff. But there's a lot of positives that you can take out of that. The guy was very driven. He was extremely motivated. He was a go-getter. He was a type A personality. You know, he was the best at what he did. And to me, that struck a chord with me. That was something that I was just in awe of. You know, I thought that was really cool that he was a young buck that came into New York and built an empire from nothing. And you got to respect that. So
that was a hell of a movie, yeah.
It was a phenomenal movie. Leonardo DiCaprio did a great job, and Jordan Belfort, you know, helped along with that movie as well. So I said to myself one day, I was sitting around, and I said, you know, the Wolf of Wall Street, the Wolf of Wrigley, that's actually pretty catchy. I said, so, you know, I want to put it on a T-shirt, see how it does.
It's an alliteration.
So I actually ran the first production line. The very first line that I did was a very small production line, and I did it at Strange Cargo down the street. Oh, nice. Again, another staple in Wrigleyville. They're actually, I just found this out, they're actually moving outside of Wrigleyville. They're no longer going to be here. They're still going to be in business, but they're moving. I'm not exactly sure where. But so I ran the line. I gave the shirts to the owners of Sluggers and the managers, and they helped. They wore it. Kind of wanted to do a test run, see how it would go, and people loved it. So I did a full production line with the help of my a good friend Garrett McLaren, who used to live actually in the house right down the street here. He moved back to Ohio. He owned a small printing company out of his basement. He's also an entrepreneur, and he moved back to Ohio to start his own apparel clothing company, as well as an art store in Columbus, Ohio. Nice. So he supported me and helped get the business off the ground, get the apparel going. And I, again, you know, a lot of the bar and restaurant owners in the area wore my apparel. I was, from the very beginning, I was pounding this concrete, you know, pounding the streets every day. I built my own display. So you'll see a lot of the vendors throughout Wrigleyville holding up T-shirt displays and stuff. And I got my vendors, you know, license, whatever. You have to apply for that downtown.
You have to?
Yeah, you do. I mean, well, you're supposed to. You're supposed to.
Right after the Cubs won the World Series, there's so many guys all over the city just selling shirts.
Luckily, I've lived in this area.
These motherfuckers are fast.
Because I've lived in this area for so long.
If you want to have a legit business, you do.
19th, to have a legit business, you do. And you know, 19th District, the police officers who do a phenomenal job. Are really doing their best to make sure to differentiate between legitimate businesses and guys who are selling counterfeit apparel and stuff like that, because they don't want that to happen. It's really no good for anyone. And I also wanted to differentiate from the other vendors on the street. But most of the vendors, they have 100% cotton Gildan shirts, which are good shirts, but they're very basic.
Yeah,
and they're okay quality.
I think the one that we use for the Profits of Wages shirts are what is it, the American Apparel?
Yeah.
Like
That's a great line.
most comfortable shirt ever made, or whatever.
Love American Apparel. I actually use Next Level, and the men's apparel is a 50-50 blend. It's half cotton, half polyester, so it's really soft and comfortable. And the women's apparel is a tri-blend, cotton, polyester, and spandex. So, and we have tearaway tags in the back as well, and the logo on the inside yoke of the shirt. So, it started from nothing. I had a display outside of Sluggers. They allowed me to have a table where I would put my T-shirt display, and I literally started selling every day. And it was a slow start. It was, and I was handing out marketing material, like cards with my website on it, the Wolf of Wrigley. I would hand it out, probably thousands of those to people. People had no idea what it was at the time, and at the time it was just an apparel line. But it started slowly growing, and people caught on. Once I had more business owners wearing it, a lot of people, the bar and restaurant owners, it really struck a chord within the industry, and a lot of people thought it was cool. It is a cool brand in my eyes. People are very receptive to it because of the positive spin I put on it, and because the Cubs won the World Series. That really helped a lot too, because being a Wolf, all it means is that you're the best at what you do.
Yeah, okay,
that's really all it means. You're the shit. You're a boss. You're the best at what you do. So, after the first year of starting the apparel line, which I still have, and I still want to continue to grow, I'd love to continue expanding the apparel line to have the women's apparel in Spanish. To have long
what would
sleeve
it say in
shirts.
Spanish?
It says El Lobo de Wrigley. Which means the Wolf of Wrigley in Spanish, or you can say La Loba de Wrigley for women. And people love it. People that don't speak Spanish don't necessarily understand it, but on my display, the other eight pieces all say the Wolf of Wrigley. So
it'd be pretty obvious.
Yeah, it's fairly obvious, and it's the same design, same exact logo. But I would love to do long sleeve shirts, hoodies. The sky's the limit. There's really a tremendous amount of stuff we can do. So anyways, after the first year, I thought that yes, the apparel it's a great start, it's a great opportunity. But looking through for the longevity of the business, I wanted to do something different, something unique that's not currently being offered in Wrigleyville. And what I mean by that is, there are event planners out there. You have Chris Festa with T-Box and Freddie Cole with Chicago 20-something.
That's Matt's event, dude.
Ah, okay.
It's T-Box every year.
His birthday is right around T-Box.
Really?
Yeah, so
okay.
just go there as like a birthday.
Are you going to the event next Saturday? He has the Mardi Gras. The Mardi Gras pub crawl. It's called Bead Quest. You will not be there.
No, I'm going to like a 3-day.
I have free tickets for you guys if you want to go. I do. So seriously, yeah. If you guys want to go, you're more than welcome. You'll have to thank Chris, but he's a great guy. So, anyways, I didn't necessarily want to do large pub crawls like they do. When I was out selling the apparel every day, a lot of people would come up to me and say, not knowing who I am, but because I'm standing in the street, they would, and these are people from Chicago and people from out of town. Yeah. They would say to me, well, where do I go to get the best hot dog, or who has the best burger, or, where's this place, or where's that place, or who has the cheapest beer? And I realized in my head, it kind of clicked. There's a lot of uncertainty when coming to Wrigleyville. It's kind of like a free-for-all. Everyone's kind of just walking around doing their own thing, not really knowing where anything is, or not knowing exactly what to do or what they want to do or what's available. There's really no guidance or structure. There's no direction or organization. It's everyone kind of just walks through the street and does their own thing. So I thought, well, there should be some sort of guidance. All the bars have their own event planning that they do. But it's one thing for a venue to say, hey, come have your event at our place. Of course the bar or restaurant's going to want you to have your party at their place because it's their bar.
Right.
But it's a little less biased. It's unbiased, and there's a little more credibility when you have a third party who comes in and says, well, you know what, here's where you should go and here's why. And I can help point people in the right direction and help be able to provide a good time without having to deal with the headache, hassle, and inconvenience of planning your own event. So we do all private events, anything from birthday parties to bachelorette parties, holiday parties, corporate events, fundraisers, charities, networking, any type of private event you can think of, anniversary parties, retirement parties, reunion parties, gender reveal part, anything. Even if it's just a group of people coming from out of town that want to have a good time, we'll set them up with we could do a food and drink packages from as simple as that to as extensive as they want. So I have, again, luckily I've built relationships with other people within the event planning industry, from lighting and decor to music groups and stuff like that, live music, DJs, and so forth. So it's really exciting. It's all fairly new. It's in the works. Again, this is only our second year in business, but I'm really excited and really looking forward to what's coming.
Now, for those that don't know what T-Box is, Matt, if you want to go into what that is, since that's your favorite event of the year, besides Halloween.
I'm on the inside about it, so you might know more, but it's basically like a 43 bar crawl, 43 different bars for probably a mile. And it's one of the biggest bar crawls in the world.
It's incredible.
40,000 people.
It's incredible.
Is that right, or I'm making that up?
I don't know the exact
it's
numbers.
Something insane.
It is. And Chris Festa started the business actually.
And it's
I believe
all day long. People can start it.
I believe he's going on 20 years plus. And when he started,
bigger and bigger.
When he started the company back in the 90s, there was only 10 people literally at the first T-Box, and now it's grown to tens of thousands, and it's remarkable. He does great work. He has great sponsorship. He does other bar crawls other than the Christmas crawl. But yeah, he's given me a lot of guidance, and he's a very good friend of mine. So I've picked his brain and gotten to learn a lot from him as well.
Yeah, and then the T-Box actually stands for 12 Bars of Christmas, because there's 10 of them. They probably went on 12 bar crawl.
Right. And then
just anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, just imagine St. Patrick's Day and what that would look like.
Oh yeah. If
you can't walk down the street without bumping into somebody, it's like that.
It's had, and like any business, it has its ups and downs. But he continues to grow, and I don't know what his future goals are, and what direction he wants to go, but. I'm very impressed with what he's accomplished, and same with Freddie Cole with Chicago 20-something. He does a lot of bar crawls as well.
Nice.
He does great
now
work.
to go back to the apparel side, you're gonna continue to do it, right?
Absolutely.
Now, what were some of the challenges that you had when you first started, production, or just trying to get your name out there, or just for somebody that wants to do it?
Great question.
Like costs and things like that.
Great question. So when I first started at Strange Cargo, I believe the shirts were 100% cotton. And I think, I hope that I still have the very first shirt that we made. I believe I have it somewhere at home. And it was a great shirt. But as you get into the apparel industry, you start learning a lot about different quality of shirts and different types of printing. I have another friend who I grew up with, Ryan Barkin, who owns 1 Hour Tees in Chicago. Yeah, and
the guys with the
and he's done phenomenal work. Yeah, he actually we grew up together in Buffalo Grove. He's an entrepreneur and does very well. He does screen printing as well as digital. I would imagine, but. To answer your question, so the apparel that we first started at Strange Cargo wasn't exactly what I wanted, and when I ran the first production line with Garrett, it came out well, but we didn't use the current brand that we're using right now, and so it was different material, and he printed it himself. God bless him for that. I can't thank him enough. And it came out well, but it was a work in progress. The printing wasn't where we wanted it to be, and so you learn from that. You learn from your mistakes, you learn from your experiences, and you move forward. And that's what we did. So we've had some obstacles. We certainly, absolutely, with the apparel, and to this day, it's right now there are some changes that I'd like to make to the apparel. I actually learned something fairly new recently about the type of printing where you can print. It's a better quality. However they print it, and again, I'm not a printing expert. I don't print it myself. I use someone to print the apparel, but where the letters won't crack and stuff like that. It'll last longer. But all the apparel I use, like I said, is better quality. So the color won't fade as much as it would on a 100% cotton shirt. It won't shrink as much,
Yeah, we had something similar because we actually have Profits Over Wages gear.
We don't print them though. We use
Shopify.
so there's like.
Do you use American Apparel?
No, our store is through Shopify. And
very nice.
When you use Shopify, they have these apps, like Printful or TeePublic. I don't know if you're familiar with these. So these are like
I use Shopify as well. But
they're they're essentially drop ship companies. Like we don't have to buy inventory.
Okay.
When somebody orders a shirt, it goes directly through Printful, and Printful does all the fulfillment and all the shipping. They are a little bit more expensive, but we don't have to carry an inventory. Like somebody goes on our website right now under the shop tab, orders a shirt, I don't even see it.
That's one.
Like it goes directly from Printful to the person. We just see that we got paid.
You basically do the marketing and then you do a markup. So it's
it's fine.
How is that working?
I like it that way because, if they're not, because there's always the fear, right? Like when you start like an apparel company. Should I buy 500 shirts?
You're taking a risk, but
am I gonna sell these?
Then you're talking about cost as well. The cost and quantity. The more quantity you buy, typically the lower cost it will be.
Right.
So it's an investment you make in the business, and I took a risk. I didn't know if the shirts would sell. Luckily, they have been selling, and they're continuing to sell. But you're also, when I'm out there selling the apparel, there are risks and there's mistakes I've made. It's very hard when the game lets out and you have thousands of people walking down Clark Street, heading to the bars, and not only am I trying to sell the apparel, but I have to keep an eye on my inventory as well. Yeah. There's a lot. Unfortunately, this is anywhere you go. You live in a large city where there's people that will steal your inventory.
Especially if you're drunk on T-Box or when the Cubs win.
Oh yeah,
you take boxes.
Oh yeah. So, it's very exciting. There's a lot of things I'd like to do outside of just apparel. I think anything from flags, having flags made or grill covers. And,
that'd be cool.
Or there's the sky's the limit. It's cool.
Yeah. Now, the event planning, how does that go?
So the event planning, it's all word of mouth right now. I don't do a tremendous amount of marketing and advertising. That's something that I really want to focus more on this year to help get the business ramped up and really help get my name out there. All of my growth right now up to this point has been organic. But again, because I've built a large social network and I continue to grow that, and I'm constantly going to networking events like you guys and meeting new people and in different industries, it opens up new doors and new opportunities, and it's extremely beneficial. So that's helped grow the business. I've been working with certain organizations, been doing all different types of events, from networking events to working with nonprofit organizations and so forth. And it's gone well so far. There's been hurdles. There's been mistakes that are made, just like in any other business that you learn from. But yeah, it's going well, and I've had the support of a lot of good friends within the industry that have helped, and have been willing to give me an opportunity to work with them.
What are some of the hurdles that you've experienced with it?
Oh God, things that you wouldn't necessarily think of, but that come up with payments and being able to trust the people you work with is another. Unfortunately, and I'll talk about this. I'm not embarrassed. I've learned from it.
No,
you have to be very,
any business,
you have to be very careful who you choose to get into business with and who you choose to work with.
Yeah.
I'm a very trustworthy person, and there's no reason not to. I'm not the type of person who automatically has his guard up and who's just gonna, who has a negative outlook. I'm very optimistic and very positive, but at the same time, I'm willing to give people a shot, just how people give people a chance, just how people have given given me a chance.
Industry, it's a little weird if you've never been around.
What I've learned is something very important is that people will talk a lot, and they'll tell you things, and that sound amazing, and that don't actually happen, right. Unfortunately, and that's just how the world works. And again, I've learned from that. And you do have to be very careful who you choose to get in the business with and who you choose to work with. But that's a part of business, like anything else.
No, definitely.
That's not saying that you need to be paranoid and not work with anyone, but, definitely do extensive research and make sure that the people that you're working with do good work and that that they actually keep their word. Because in business, that's all you have is your word. Once you break your word, it's very hard to come back.
And it gets around real quick, too.
Right. Absolutely.
I feel like every industry is super small, and at some point, if you're in the industry long enough, word is gonna get around that you're not a person of your word, or that you're not, you don't keep your promises, or that you're a shitty person to work with.
And
it's gonna get around at some point,
right? And that is not who I am as a person. Unfortunately, I did work with someone who had put me in a tough situation. Not a tough situation, really, more or less just. It does fall on me. One thing that you have to learn is you do have to take responsibility for your actions. You have to hold yourself accountable. And again, it's in the past. I've learned from it. Does it make me a bad person? Absolutely not. But it makes you a stronger person from learning from your mistakes, and you move forward from that.
That's the. I think we're talking about this on the podcast that's gonna come out pretty soon here. The ultimate type of accountability is when you're accountable to yourself, right?
You have to.
And I feel like people have not a bad connotation, but they think of being accountable as being accountable to somebody else. Like that, honestly, a lot of the time that shouldn't even matter. Right. I feel like ultimate accountability should be to your own person. Right? You're responsible for the shit that happens.
It's not anyone else's
fault. You should take responsibility and be accountable to your own.
Then if anything happens, even if it's like somebody else's fault, like totally, you should always look back and say, what could I have done differently? What's like one thing I could have done differently? Where if you work with somebody that totally like screws you over, how can you not have that happen again? How can you say, okay, what were the red flags that I missed, right?
Right.
Because it's easy to play the blame game and then just,
Or the victim. My man, you got to get closer to the microphone because we got a lot of bar noise going in the background.
You can play the victim to anything, but even if you know it's 100% someone else's fault in anything you do, just being, you channel that energy instead of being angry at somebody, you always channel it back to yourself. You're like, how can I use this opportunity to make my business get better? What can I do in the future?
Exactly.
Like no matter what, and that's the biggest thing. Because sometimes stuff is, your fault. Sometimes it's other people's fault. But you can always take like the good out of everything and, improve yourself and your business no matter what.
And I'll tell you something. When I started this company, there's a lot that has fallen into place on a positive side that I didn't even think of when starting the business. For example, WOW, wow, Wolf of Wrigley. So I've played off of that. That's phenomenal branding because wow is such an exciting word and it pops out and
super American.
Wow, and and I use that when posting on social media and stuff. I'll do WOW. Wow, wolf spelled backwards is flow. Feel the flow, be the wolf. That's just stuff that I never even thought of when starting the business, and has actually came to fruition and is helping build the brand. Another thing that I do in some of my pictures is I'll have my hands up and my mouth open, which is WOW.
I thought you were just super excited.
Yeah, no, but that's all. That's all.
Or
branding.
Really drunk.
Well, probably a little bit of both. Let's not kid ourselves, but. Yeah, I mean, these are all things that I didn't think of when starting the business, but it just kind of, you come up with creative ideas and different ways to market yourself. Some of the really exciting things that I've been working on moving forward that I want to focus on this year is not only selling the apparel myself out here. I may or may not be continuing to sell it myself. I still want to do it, but I would like to have someone else be out here as well. Start building actual team. Yeah. Having someone else sell the apparel, so I can focus more on the event planning side of things. I also, because I've lived in this area for so long and happen to become friends with a lot of the other T-shirt vendors on the street who are also really love my brand. I want them to start selling my apparel too. All the street vendors around Wrigley Field, I would love for them to start selling the T-shirts and stuff, which will only help. It's gonna lower my margins, my profit margin, so I won't be making as much.
But you get more volume.
But I get more volume.
And you get more marketing because it's more out there.
Absolutely, I'm reaching a larger number of people. I also have the support of Sports World right across the street from Sluggers, who was nice enough to help sell my apparel on their website. I would really like an opportunity to sell the apparel in their store, as well as Wrigleyville Sports down the street on Sheffield and Addison.
Yeah. Isn't there like a new one opening up too with this construction?
There probably is. I don't know for a fact. There's Clark Street Sports.
But there was that one that they closed down because of the construction, right?
Yeah, but there's another that's opening that's like.
I would imagine so. I know there's a Cubs store down the street, but I Again, I've been in a lot of this may have to do with timing, but when I started the apparel line, another thing that really helped get my name out there was the number of celebrities that were wearing my apparel. I want to touch upon that as well. Thomas Ian Nicholas, who was the childhood actor in Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
And he played Henry Rowan-Gardner for the Cubs and actually won the World Series in the movie. It was funny because when I started the company in 2016, before the Cubs won the World Series, I met Thomas through a good friend of mine, James Feely, who is very well known in the industry as well, very successful. He used to work for Wirtz Beverage and worked for Diageo. Now works for, forgive me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Torlato Wines. And just knows everyone, the Landon twins, Andrew and John Landon and so forth. So James had worked with Thomas when he was at Diageo, sponsoring Thomas's band, the Thomas Nicholas Band. He's in a rock band now, and the band's awesome. They do a great job. And Captain Morgan was sponsoring it. And I had met Thomas in Wrigleyville before one of his shows. And when I was growing up as a kid, actually, believe it or not, when I was in high school, there was something in our yearbook. Everyone thought that Tom and I looked a lot alike when he was in American Pie, a little bit. Yeah, so him and I were joking about that, and we were laughing, and we became good friends. And Tom was nice enough to support me when I had started this apparel line, and he actually wore my shirt throwing out the opening pitch.
That's awesome!
Against, I think it was the White Sox when he wore it. I'm
the
not
Crosstown
series.
Yeah.
Do you know that Matt's secretly a White Sox fan?
Are you? Okay,
Not secretly,
it's all right. I forgive you. Nobody's perfect.
Ricardo doesn't like baseball at all, and he doesn't even know what the guy you're talking about. Because he was in
I
American.
have no idea what you're talking about.
It's okay. So, anyways, he threw out. Do you really not know?
I grew up in South America or Central America, so it's like I've always said that like if you grew up in the United States, you like baseball. If you grew up anywhere else, you like soccer. But they're both just as fucking boring.
Do you know Thomas Nicholas?
All of Central America is like baseball. Like a third of the league is like
not Central, mostly Caribbean and South and Colombian and
You even know about baseball? How do you know?
So that's all you see, right?
It's like Dominican Republic.
No, but no, you see what I'm saying. Like, if
you speak Spanish?
Yeah,
I got it. Do you want the shirt in Spanish or English?
Sure,
give it to him in Spanish.
Either one.
All right, you got it.
No, but like what I'm saying is like whichever sport you grew up with, that's what you like. It doesn't matter how boring it is, because baseball is boring as hell.
Soccer,
it's soccer. So it's soccer.
Some would argue. It's all. You're right. That's a good point. It depends on where you're going.
Regular season is boring as hell. I do like playoff baseball. That I do like.
Absolutely.
Do you even know the rules of baseball?
Absolutely.
They're not that hard.
So Tom threw out the opening pitch wearing my shirt. He wore it, during his concert, which was very nice of him. It helped get exposure. I've had a lot of support from James Feely and the Landons, and all. As I said, the bar. It was covered on ESPN because I was out in Wrigleyville so much during that season, during 2016. I was lucky enough to do some interviews with WGN and CBS and NBC and Tom Waddle and on the Bears and Brad Miller on the Bulls and Clay Guida. The professional UFC fighter, they all were willing to wear my apparel. And after the Cubs won the World Series, this is a really cool story. After the Cubs won, they actually came in, the Sluggers, where we're at now. They came in the following night, and they went upstairs with their wives and girlfriends on the second floor to celebrate and to grab some drinks and have a good time and just relax, after such a incredible, insane World Series win, probably one of the best games we'll ever see in our lifetime, anyone's lifetime. But Addison Russell came up to me and said, "Adam, I'd be more. Let me hand out your shirts to the team," and he did. And I didn't ask him to, but it was very nice of him to do that, and I'm so incredibly thankful for him doing that. Rob Zastryzny and some of the players wore it to the World Series parade the next day, which was covered on WGN. So. That was cool. There's a lot of actors. Dee Snider from Twisted Sister, famous rock star.
I thought you said Dee's nuts.
No. Dee Snider, he's an 80s rock star, but Damon Ranger, who works with him, who is a part of 8 Hospitality, introduced me to him. And again, Damon's a very good friend of mine as well. David Eigenberg, the actor from Chicago Fire, who plays Christopher Herman, and he was also in Sex and the City. He was nice enough to wear the apparel Who else am I missing? Lauren Jiggets, who was on on NBC, and now she's on the morning news, WGN Morning News, who I went to high school with. Was nice enough to wear it. So you know,
cool,
all these.
man.
Yeah, I mean, it's very helpful. It's helpful in getting the brand out there because, you know, let's face it, when you see celebrities wearing your apparel, it's something that other people want to wear, and
That's how football got big.
It's good marketing. And it's validation for you.
Kevin White on the Bears, you know,
if
he's
he
been
plays,
if he plays, but he wears. I know I feel bad for him, but he wears the apparel, man. You know, and it's nice to have that support. And I want to continue growing that. My goals moving forward, I would love to get all the Chicago Cubs celebrities. I would like to get wearing a shirt, including Jeremy Piven, Vince Vaughn.
People say Matt looks like Vince Vaughn.
John Cusack.
I have his phone number if you want to maybe
Do
call
you
him.
really?
Yeah.
I would love to. Vince Vaughn actually grew up in Buffalo Grove. So Dan Ferrone, it's a stepbrother. If he can get Vince to wear the shirt, that'd be incredible.
Like we all have like a Facebook chat, and every time people are talking about, you know, whoever looks like somebody, they always bring up Matt looking like Vince Vaughn.
Yeah,
there you
top
go.
game.
You know, if you can get Vince, you already got a shirt, but if you can get Vince to wear one, that'd be awesome. John Cusack, Belushi, Eddie Vedder. These are all people that I'd really like to get, you know, in my shirt. And it's an obstacle. It's not easy, but
Did you try to hit him up on Twitter and stuff?
That's something I need to start doing more of. I haven't been doing that enough.
You know what? Our last guest was a huge PR guy, so I could connect you with him. He could probably
networking right there.
Yeah, he knows people.
I mean, I would love to. Yeah, I mean, and I am all about, you know, rewarding people. So anyone who's willing to help me, it goes both ways. It's reciprocal. You know,
yeah.
I don't just.
That's how business.
That's how business. That's the name of business. So I don't just give.
Done.
Right. Yeah, I don't just take. You got to give as well.
Now, not to go back to the event side.
Yeah.
Say I wanted to have a birthday party out here. How does that work? Like,
nobody's going to show up.
It's as easy as you can simply go on the website. Yeah, so I have a website, thewolfofwrigley.com. It needs some work done, but it's an opportunity. It's very easy. You go on the website. There's a tab on top. It says book an event. You click that. There's my phone number. There's a phone number on there. The company.
You can give it out here if you want.
The phone number. It's 773-888-2130.
Just don't prank call them.
Yeah, well, yeah. Please don't prank. Please don't. Please don't.
Now you put it in their heads.
I have a website, or not the website. Excuse me. I have an email address, Howell HOWL @thewolfofwrigley.com.
That's fun.
So yeah, man, like howl at your boy. That's one of the hashtags.
There you go,
I use.
Nice.
Howl at your boy. Yeah. So I have certain hashtags that I use. No hassle, just fun. That's our whole motto. It's more than just a lifestyle. It's more than just a saying. It's a lifestyle. It's an attitude. It's an experience.
Now,
and that's really what it's about.
How does it work though? Like, do you do like drink packages? Do you do like
we'll do anything as basic as a food and drink package? Yeah. So for people that want to come out,
get plastered in 3 hours.
Ricardo wants the most basic package.
Yeah, if you want to come out and have a 2 or 3 all-you-can-drink package, that's fine. And there's different packages that we set up based on what bar you go to. Every bar is different. Every bar has something different to offer. All the bars are unique. You know, we're at Sluggers, which is a sports bar. They have arcade games, batting cages, the live music, the dance floor, etc. You have HVAC. I can just go down the list here. You have HVAC. Deuces. You have Barleycorn. You have Moe's Cantina. You have Merkel's. You have Old Crow. You have Roadhouse. You have on this side.
What did they tear down here? There's a bunch right here.
So they used to have Red Ivy. They had Mullins. They had Salt and Pepper, and they had Goose Island. All of which were phenomenal. They're all great places. I miss them very much. I mean, it's exciting for what's to come. We have a Shake Shack. We have a Big Star that's being built right down
Big Star.
I like Big Star. Yeah,
absolutely.
I just post an article on there.
The McDonald's that used to be there, they're still keeping there. Believe it or not, they signed I believe a 100-year contract when they built that.
The McDonald's?
So when they're building Hotel Zachary right now, when that's built, the McDonald's will still be there. I don't know what's going on with the Taco Bell.
Weren't there like people like literally petitioning to not tear it down?
Yeah,
it's been a staple. I mean, before the McDonald's, if you want a little history in Wrigley, there was
throw it out there.
There actually used to be a hot dog stand that was there, and again, networking. When I used to take the metro line from Buffalo Grove to the city and so forth, I met a guy on the train whose father actually owned that hot dog stand. He claims that his father started cheese fries. Like, was the founder, like, created cheese fries.
That is awesome an invention.
Because when the Bears...
Just fries, just cheese on fries?
I guess. I'm not 100% sure, but
sounds like bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know. But in either case, when the Bears used to practice in Wrigley Field and Mike Ditka played on the Bears, the team, after they were done practicing, would walk across the street and go to the hot dog stand to eat.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool. Yeah, and there's a ton of history.
You know what just came out that I just saw was last night was the 85 Bears best football NFL team history. It was like a 2.5 hour documentary.
One of these days,
awesome.
the Bears will get back to where we
just dropped the 85 Bears already, man. They talk about it way
Go
too
watch
long.
it.
It's been what?
You don't have football.
I have faith in our Bears, man.
5 years, just.
It's the best team ever.
It's so
Go watch it.
annoying,
It was
though.
like
It's
literally
the
like
shuffling
fucking
crew,
win
man.
again. It's been way too long.
too bad nobody cares about soccer in the U.S.
I know, but it's, so what?
So
It's popular worldwide.
Absolutely.
The U.S. is not the center of the world.
That's what people outside the U.S. say.
I don't know. Yeah,
It's the truth, though.
we could argue that on a different segment, guys. We could.
No, I just like talking shit to me because they always talking
absolutely.
shit about soccer.
We're
I'm
talking about sports, and we have this guy who doesn't know anything about sports talking shit.
Hey, you know what? That's the great thing about sports. You know, you don't. It could go either way. But if you are interested in having an event, it's as simple as just going online, clicking book an event. You can reach out to me, and we'll discuss what you're looking for, what you want to get done, and I'll do everything that I can to be able to provide an amazing experience. That's really the number one thing, is making sure that the clients are happy, that your clients are satisfied, that they're because they always come first. Clients always come first. You always got to put your clients first.
Now let me ask you, okay, so first of all, I love the apparel company. I love the marketing.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
The logo, the wording, everything.
Yeah, you gotta get closer.
I love that you're doing the event planning. I think that's huge, especially with the market you're at.
Thank you.
In Wrigley, and those two things go hand in hand. Now, maybe for some of our listeners, it's an awesome undertaking that you've taken, you started doing, and you're growing it and you're scaling it. Let me ask you though, why this? Why not just a 9-to-5 job? Why, you're in the financial industry. They have a lot of, great opportunities that you can, go for. What made you make the leap, first of all? And, because, this podcast is all about inspiring other people to go after their dreams.
Absolutely.
And, not just be kind of stuck in a cubicle, especially if it's a job that you don't like at all and it's your heart's not there. And instead of just showing up for a paycheck.
Right.
Because I can see how excited you are about, both these companies that you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, how long was that period where you were like, well, this is what I want to do? And how long did you think about it before you started putting in the action to execute, to actually go out and do it?
So,
And
good question.
What's your why?
So first things first, the light bulb clicked when I was actually at Sluggers on a cold, dreary night like this, drinking at the bar, really drunk. And it just hit me. And I really enjoyed, the corporate gig. It's not for everyone. And being an entrepreneur is not for everyone, and having a 9-to-5 is not for everyone. But it was something that I was truly passionate about. When you have that passion, when it's something that you really, really want to do, and you have that drive, there's no second guessing it. There's no question. You're fearless. That's really what it takes. Is you just have to take that leap of faith. And if you fail, you get back up and you do it again. It's not. But you got to take that chance, and most people aren't willing to take that chance. It was something that I thought was a huge opportunity before the Cubs. I wanted to start this company before the Cubs won the World Series, so I can piggyback off their success, and I did. I mean, and it worked. Knock on wood. And I really hope that the Cubs win another 2 World Series over the next 5-6 years. Well, let's not get that far ahead. Let's focus on the next 5 years. But. Look, it's something that you have to look yourself in the mirror and take a deep look and really make that decision. Is this something I really want to? Is this something I really want to do? And it's not easy.
Did you quit your job cold turkey?
I did, yeah. So I dedicated all my time and effort into this. I put a lot of thought into it before getting started. You can't. It's not something you want to do recklessly and just jump into and say, No, I put together a business plan. I figured out what I needed to do, how I would make it work.
The rent's still due at the beginning of the month. So.
Absolutely. Well, I did have help. I'm not going to lie. It's not something that if you either have your own money that you use and you have financial saving, or you need an investor, someone, because running a company you do need capital. You need money to purchase the apparel. And get your name out there and put into marketing and advertising. So I was able to get help from my family. Did help me out, and I'm very, very grateful for that and very appreciative. And it's not, the difference between a 9-to-5 and starting your own business is that when you own your own business, it never ends. It's a 24-hour constant thing.
There's no light switch.
There were nights, and not to defer someone, or not to scare someone from starting their own business, but there are nights. There is
competition.
It is scary, but you know what?
Let them know.
You have to embrace that. You have to embrace that scare. And there were nights when I would get no sleep. I wouldn't sleep at night because you're tossing and turning, and I'm waking up. Is this going to work? Is it not? What should I be doing differently? But then you also have to say to yourself at the same time, well, look, you know what you're doing. You got this. And it's all about being confident and just kind of owning it and saying, just take it one step at a time. Don't rush into anything. You're going to learn from this, and just stay focused. Keep the middle ground, and
be the Wolf of
Wrigley. That's right.
I was going to say Wall Street.
Wall Street. And it's funny because a lot of people don't necessarily get that, and that's another obstacle that I need to overcome. Is deferring. We can get you more. I think there's more right here.
Matt's been kicked out of a bar before for eating wings too savagely.
I'll tell you
There's
something.
No such
Unfortunately,
thing.
I've been in that
Wings
situation myself.
See?
No,
and it's not a fun situation to be in.
That's not what I said. I said, did you know that Matt got kicked out of a bar for eating too crazy?
I don't know exactly what that. What is it? What exactly is?
I don't know either. My friends told me the next day. I thought it was for something like.
Wait, were you drunk?
Seriously,
were you drunk?
He just said my friends told me the next day.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Okay.
No, but I was like, I eat them that way anyways. I'm like, no, I eat these this way when I'm sober. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the best advice I can give for anyone who wants to start their own business is put a lot of thought into it first. Do something that you're truly passionate about, something that you really care about, something that is going to put a fire in your belly. Something that is going to make you want to succeed and continue growing. Because if you don't have that, you're not going to succeed, and it's not for you.
But not too much thought where you're literally not doing shit.
Well, right. I mean, no, you don't want to do it to the point where you're killing yourself.
Right, because most people go into, what do they call it, analysis paralysis?
Yeah.
Where they're like...
Where you're overthinking it.
Overthinking.
I want to wait for the perfect time to do it, because you think about everything, and then you just don't do anything.
It's never a perfect time.
It's like...
there never is a perfect time.
When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Today.
Yes, sir.
It's like, well, let me wait to the perfect time. Like, if you wait to then, you're never going to do it.
Right. Do your research. Do something that not only that you're passionate about, but something that's unique, something different. Find something that's disruptive, that's not currently being done. As an entrepreneur myself, I'm always the wheels are always spinning. I'm always constantly thinking of new ideas and new concepts and what I can be doing better. I actually have. I don't want to get into too much detail about this, but there's only a handful of people that know. You guys will know soon. And who knows whether or not these will actually come to fruition. But I have about 10 other business ideas that I every time I come up with an idea, I grab a pen, I write it down, and give it some thought. So within the bar and restaurant industry, things that I'd like to develop in Wrigleyville. I also work outside of Wrigleyville as well. It's not just Wrigleyville. So I've been doing events in River North.
Wolf of Wicker.
Yeah, the wolf. There's other people that piggyback off that. I've seen things. The Wolf of Real Estate, the Wolf of Wells Street, which is not bad, but the Wolf
about
of
to cut that URL.
I started it because the Wolf of Wall Street, the Wolf of Wrigley. It sounds similar. They both have W's. It's catchy, and I wanted that light bulb to switch off. I wanted people to be able to recognize the similarity. Yeah.
Oh, we had our PR guy was saying it's called newsjacking, where you take something that's already trending, and then you piggyback on it to promote your brand. It's also like co-branding, but it's like smart instead of just because people automatically, even if they hadn't seen that anywhere or the name, just as soon as they see it, they're like, oh, it kind of, since there's like a similarity or there's something that existed beforehand, it actually puts that in their head where like, oh, I've heard of this before, even when they never heard of it, and just like, it clicks something as opposed to just coming something 100% original.
Right.
If it's a little
kind of like when you said the Wolf of Wall Street, but
exactly.
But a lot of people do that, and I'm okay with that.
And then it sounds like a brand that's been around a long, long time, even if you started it, today.
Any publicity is good publicity. And when I first started the apparel line, I actually there was a guy at the Chicago Scene Boat Party. He's actually became a very good friend of mine, David Isaac. And he thought it would be funny to create a knockoff of this. So he created a hat that said "The Wolf of the Playpen," and
it got come out as good.
The Wolf of the Playpen. No, it doesn't sound as good, but it was the exact same. It was a blue hat, it looked the exact same, and it just said "The Wolf of the Playpen" on it. And I thought that was great. I actually was really happy about that. Thank you, David, by the way. It was awesome because, again, all that did was just help get my name out there. And, even though he was kind of just making a joke about it, it was very cool.
So now it's time for the speed round.
Uh-oh.
It's not really a speed round. We asked you a series of questions.
Okay.
You can say about 30 seconds.
Slow speed round.
Okay.
Yeah.
Slow speed round.
You can elaborate if you feel like it, but
you want just quick answers?
Yeah, it's up to you.
It's whatever comes up to your head.
Quick answers,
ahead,
unless you
shoot.
like the answer that you're saying.
I'm
you
a
can
little
elaborate.
nervous right now. I'm not gonna lie. Go ahead.
They're not too hard.
Why do you do what you do? What gets you through the tough times?
Why do I do what I do? Well, I think I already touched on this a little bit. I do what I do because I love it. I couldn't ask for a better opportunity right now to be in Wrigleyville, to be working with these venues and throughout the city of Chicago. And it's a lifestyle change, from doing the corporate 9 to 5. I'm really glad, it's you're constantly surrounded. Your whole life is engulfed around the business, but I also have that freedom to do what I want when I want, which is cool.
Did I answer that? Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think that's the biggest thing about entrepreneurship is the freedom.
Oh, yeah.
Even though you're working way harder than you would if you were, working for somebody else. Mm-hmm. So what the definition of an entrepreneur? Somebody who works 80 hours a week to avoid working 40 hours a week?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What living or dead person other than a family member do you most admire?
Other than a family member? Well, because my company is the Wolf of Wrigley, I would have to put Jordan Belfort in there. Again, the guy made some mistakes, but he's doing really well right now. He actually has his own sales.
He's super against Bitcoin and crypto.
Yeah, he is. But he has his own sales program, and he's learned from his mistakes, hopefully. And is able to teach others about that. So he is someone that I really look up to, believe it or not because of the negative that he's done, but because of all the good stuff he's done, and because of his sheer tenacity and drive. And I wanted to answer the second part of the first question. How do I get through the hard times? Alcohol helps, but no, in all honesty, it's just self-talk. It's like, sometimes I do get down. Being an entrepreneur is not easy. You have rough times where, God, is this going to work? Or, how am I going to get this to work? But you got to fight. It's about staying positive and having the mental strength to just fight through that and
perseverance.
Persevere, exactly. Thank you.
It's pretty lonely, too, if you're doing it by yourself.
It is. Right now, yes. And that's one thing I want to do is build a team that can help me grow the business at a much faster rate. Yeah.
What do you wish you knew before you started?
One thing I wish I knew was planning is a lot harder than it is, event planning. And it's a work in progress. I'm learning as I go along, but I wish that there's a few events previously I wish I would have done differently in terms of planning, dotting my I's, crossing my T's, making sure that everything's checked off. Again, those are things. And another thing I wish I may have done a little differently is having the right amount of funding in place. Securing the right amount of capital is very important in any business, and making sure that your company's properly capitalized to fuel that growth. I'm at a stage right now where I actually am in the process of trying to secure an investor for my company to help take my company to the next level. And that's been it's not easy. In any industry, it's not easy, but I'm very confident in myself. I'm very confident in the business. I feel that there's a huge opportunity, and I'll find the right investor, someone that will help propel, the company moving forward.
Invest in the Wolf.
There you go.
I think you already answered this one.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite failure? Is there one that set you up for future success?
Yeah. My favorite failure was I did try to throw a bar crawl, actually, believe it or not. The very first season.
A wolf crawl?
A wolf crawl. It was the inaugural Wolf of Wrigley
a
bar
wolf walk?
crawl. And I thought that it was going to be a huge turnout. And here's the thing that you learn about planning events. There's a lot of unforeseen circumstances that come up, a lot of variables that you can't anticipate for. For example, weather. The day that we threw the event, it was just really shitty out. The weather, it was dreary, it was cloudy, it was raining, it was cold. I don't know if it was necessarily cold, but we didn't do enough planning in advance to really get the bar crawl, to get the word out there. It was kind of a rush job. I had the support of some of the distributors who had helped me out, Chicago Beverage. Thank you very much for that, but it wasn't done the right way. So I learned from that. There wasn't a good turnout. There was actually another bar crawl that was unknown to anyone that was actually going on at that time. So there was just like a culmination of a lot of unforeseen circumstances that again, I'm not making excuses because these are things that I could have overcame, and ultimately it comes down on me. But it was a learning experience, and moving forward when planning events, you really need to make sure that the events are done correctly. And you only get one shot at it. So planning is a huge aspect. You want to make sure you allot enough time when planning an event so to make sure that you can overcome a lot of these unforeseen obstacles.
Checking the weather app?
Yeah, well, that's one very important thing.
Well, if you already have it planned, you can't really change
right,
it.
But, right, that's the thing. When you plan these events, right. So like when Chris Festa, when he plans the T-Box events, these are planned months and months in advance, and you can't change the date. Now. So it's rain or shine, And luckily for him, he's had such a huge following. But when you're starting off on your own and you're an individual, it's very hard to get everyone to come out. And they all missed a great time. We still had a great time. Don't get me wrong, but that's one thing I would have done differently. That's a failure that I would have liked to. I wish we could have done a better job on that.
I recently met a guy that spent $50,000 on this event where they were going to, definitely get that back and way more. He didn't buy weather insurance. He lost the whole thing. Instead of having 4,000 people, they had 100 people.
Unbelievable. It's unfortunate.
The weather insurance is only $1,500.
Right.
Wait, there's weather insurance?
Oh yeah. There's insurance for anything out there.
Yeah. But it was like that island party last year that bombed, the draw rule thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Where was this at?
No, I'm just saying. I was saying.
No, what happened? I don't know.
Oh, I never. I forgot what it's
I'm
called.
out of the loop.
All right, we'll talk about it later.
Okay, we can talk about it.
All right.
I am interested to hear about that.
What is one thing you find to be true that most people would disagree with?
Say that one more time.
What is one thing that you find to be true that most people would disagree with?
Energy, man. Energy and intensity is such a huge part of what I do. Not everyone agrees with that. And sometimes a flaw of mine is that I sometimes come across over the top. You're not seeing it right now. Not to the point where it's detrimental, but to other people, and I need to be able to take that feedback and learn from it. It could be too much, and it could come across as annoying. But that's just the type of person who
you're in the entertainment industry.
That's the type of person I am. I'm very loud. I'm very energetic and intense. Some people wouldn't agree with that, but I'm never going to change who I am as a person. I could focus on, being a better person and not making it a flaw. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the worst piece of advice you ever got?
That's a really good question. Give up. That's the worst piece of advice anyone's ever told me is give up, don't follow your dreams, don't do this. Believe it or not, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people out there that will tell you that. And you got to just brush that off. You can't listen to your haters, you can't listen to the negative all feedback's good. You got to listen to feedback, but the negative feedback.
A lot of the time they're they're imposing their own self-limiting beliefs on you, and it's like, dude,
it's the worst.
Just because you can't fucking keep up with what you say you're gonna do doesn't mean that I'm not.
The worst feedback I've ever gotten is to give up, because I'm not the type of person to give up. That's just not who I am. So I'll never give up. And
but what I'm saying is that those people would have they would have thought that maybe they would have given up already. You know what I mean?
Or
it's
maybe they just don't want to see me succeed.
They just want to do it. That too, right?
I mean,
well, it's like people say don't do something because someone else failed, and it's like, why would I base my success or failure on someone else? Like I'm a different person.
Can't is not in my vocabulary. It's just not. And being as an entrepreneur, you can't use the word can't. You just can't. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
If you had one piece of advice to someone just starting out, what would it be?
Whether in the apparel or event planning business,
be able to pivot your business. You got to be able to roll with the punches, but be able to adapt and make changes as your business continues to grow. Don't be so set in your ways. You have to be able to make adjustments as needed in order to be successful. That's one really good piece of advice that was given to me.
Oh, that was actually the next question. What's a piece of advice you received recently that you still follow?
I can give you another one. Another really good piece of advice is surround yourself with good people. That's very important. I got two good guys right here next to me, but in all seriousness, it's important, because who you surround yourself with is who's gonna make who you are. And you really gotta be around like-minded individuals, people that are driven, people that are positive, that are optimistic, that are hardworking, that are motivated, because that's what's going to help you succeed.
It's going to make you feel lazy, that's for sure.
You don't want to be around people who aren't driven or lazy or unmotivated, because that does take a toll on you and it will drag you down. So
it's that crab theory, right? If you have a bunch of crabs in a pot and one tries to crawl out, the others pull them back in. Mm-hmm. You got to surround yourself with people that literally get out and pull you up.
Absolutely.
People that are above you, that you want mentors and that you want to follow and model yourself after.
That was one of the biggest reasons why we started this podcast too.
Was for
just to surround ourselves with positive, driven, strong work ethic. Just people that want to be successful. It's that's the kind of people that we want to have on the podcast and, become acquaintances, maybe even friends with.
Absolutely.
It's just surrounding ourselves with the kind of people that we want to become, right? It's why would you... It doesn't make any sense. If your friends are not challenging you, if your friends are not doing things that make you feel like a lazy piece of shit, then you don't have the right friends.
And there is one other piece of advice I want to say. You have to believe in yourself. You really do. And another thing that's truly resonated with me, again, I'm going to piggyback off the Cubs here for a second, but the fact that they had their backs up against the wall and persevered and was able to overcome all that adversity and win against all odds.
They were down 1-3, right?
They were, yes, they were. No one thought they were going to win. I thought they were going to win. One, because I had my own business, so I was a little biased. I wanted them to win, but they never gave up. They never quit, and that's what it takes to succeed. I know that sounds corny and it sounds a little cliche, but in all honesty, never give up, ever.
I'm just
never, ever give up. You can't.
I'm just glad they won because fuck LeBron.
That's the best advice. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I was. That actually put a big smile on my face too. I think that made every Chicagoan very happy. But never give up. Never. Follow your dreams. Keep doing what you're doing, and that's all you can do.
So I think we'll end on that. I think you might have already said it, but where can people find you for either of your businesses, or where can they?
Thank you very much. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I know that's bad because I should be on other social media platforms as well. I'm working on that, but you can search The Wolf of Wrigley on all three, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I also have my website, thewolfofwrigley.com. And you can also find me on this guy's podcast. So.
Yeah.
Thanks, man, for being on the podcast.
Thank you guys both very much. I really appreciate everything, man.
Until next time, guys.